Hey there, you guys. So, it's been a few weeks. It is now the beginning of April, which is weird that it took so long to get here, but also weird that it's already April. So anyway, today I'm going to be doing my March wrap-up. And you guys will all be surprised unless you follow me on Goodreads because I actually finished 6 books this month, which is insane for me. Now, yes, 2 of which were graphic novels, so they were shorter, they didn't take as long. And I did listen to the other 4 all on audiobook. But the fact that I actually read 6 books this month in some way, shape, or form is insanity. I have not read 6 books in a month in, oh God, it's at least been 2 years. It's been a long time. Well, no, actually, I take that back, because there was like a book-to-a-thon or so where I read. So it's been a while. It hasn't been over 2 years, but it's been a really long time. So sorry, my computer's the screen that's lightening and darkening. Over here to my left so that I have my notes up. So anyway, I'm just going to go through the books, and then at the end of the video, I will give you an update on where I'm at in my book progress of getting down to 0 books on my TBR. I'll get to it at the end. So anyway, the first book that I finished this month was The Battle of the Labyrinth, the graphic novel adaptation by Rick Riordan. I don't think I've been saying this, but these are adapted by Robert Venditti. And he adapted all of this main series for sure. I think he's done all but the Kane Chronicles graphic novels, I think is all done by Robert Venditti. Again, I think I gave it a 3 or a 4. It's, like I said before, these are books that I love the series so much, so these are collector's items also for me, and I do love having these books in this form, but overall I just think the stories don't lend themselves to being a graphic novel because they have to cut so many of the details out because you don't have the time to explain them with all of the extra dialogue and extra description chunks throughout the chapters. So it's just more difficult to do these books in a graphic novel form, in my opinion. Doesn't mean it wasn't good. The pictures are absolutely beautiful. There was a scene in this book, in this one, that I loved. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. This one's not it, but this one's just like, they're beautiful images, and just, this one's horrific, but it's just, it gives an extra element of texture to the story and kind of gives you a chance to take it in a different way, which I think is interesting. So, first book, I think it was a 3 or a 4. It was definitely not a 5, but I think it was a 3. I think. The next book that I finished was a reread as a part of my reread of all of Rick Riordan's books, and so that was The Mark of Athena by Rick Riordan, the 3rd book in the Heroes of Olympus series. There was so much in this book that I did not remember. Like, apparently, I never reread this book. I reread the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series probably 5 or 6 times total, or more, when I was in middle school and like early high school, before I started BookTube. And I would just read them over and over and over again. Most of the time I would reread the first 3 or 4. Last Olympian only got reread a few times for that series. Then these books started coming out, and so I reread the first 2 a couple of times because, like, I reread Lost Hero before Son of Neptune came out. I reread both of them before this one came out. Then when House of Hades came out, I just didn't have the time to reread. So I reread, I think, the first two and then stopped, and I was like, I have to just read it. So I may have like skimmed through this one, but I would have only reread it once in however many years since this book came out. When did this book come out? Let's see. It's been a long time. 2012. So it's been 8 years, pretty much, since I read this book. And it was so good. There were so many details that I didn't remember, pieces and elements of the story. The only thing I remembered of the story was the ending, and I'm not gonna say it, because if you haven't read the series, I don't want to spoil it for you, because it's such a moment. But that's the only thing I remember about this book, because it leads straight into the second, or straight into the fourth. So anyway, loved it. 5 out of 5. Beautiful reread. And I'm still on track as of my new ordering of the series. Then the next book that I finished, I don't actually have physically. There might be a graphic here, there might not. I don't know if, I can't really edit still because I don't have a computer, so probably not. But I listened to Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. It was the only Lunar Chronicles book that I have not read yet. So I was like, you know what? I want to be able to say I've finished all of Lunar Chronicles. I love all of the new covers she's come up with. Oh my gosh, it's just all beautiful, and I want them all, but I don't have the time or money or whatever to buy those new beautiful box set of those beautiful new covers, but it's fine. So anyway, now that I've read all of those, it was really, really good. I loved all of the different short stories. There was only like 1 or 2 of them that I wasn't a super big fan of. And I can't even remember his name off the top of my head because I didn't. The captain's, his short story, I didn't really enjoy his very much. It just kind of felt out of place because he's not like he's a main character, but you don't ever get him except for when he's with Cress. Yes, except for when he's with Cress, you don't ever get to see him by himself. So seeing his backstory, and it didn't lead into anything we really cared about. It just kind of was something that Cress had mentioned, is what the story was based off of. So it wasn't like Wolf's. His was also not like super high, but his showed his progression into how he got to being where he was, and then that led into how he got to the Scarlet and how that all happened. But they were all wonderful. And then the other one that was weird was the weird random droid one. I don't even know what purpose it served. Like, I truly can't really recall most of it right now. But that one was also a little weird. Was set in the world, but then I can't even remember what its significance was to the whole storyline. But anywho, the next book, I think I gave it a 5 out of 5 overall, because most of them were phenomenal and I love them. The next book that I finished was Last Olympian by Rick Riordan, graphic novel. Same as Battle of the Labyrinth. Enjoyed it. Wasn't my favorite, but now I can say I've read all of them. I do love this cover art that shows it's supposed to be Luke and Kronos with Percy. Like, that's just super cool. And then there was another picture in here that this one's a lot. If you flip through it, most of it, especially at the beginning, it's all very dark. And it's kind of cool because it also, then that coloration sets the mood for the overall storyline. But yeah, I just, but yeah, it's cool. I like the ending too, when they show Percy and Annabeth, like, they get a little bit of a moment. Anyway, I think I again gave this a 3 out of 5, I think. I don't know. Then the next book was my random pick that shocked me. As you remember in my TBR video, I had said that at least one book a month now, because of a certain circumstance, I will probably be picking 2 books per month for a couple of reasons. One, I finished 6 books, so I know that that's possible for me to finish more than 2 to 3 books a month. But also because, not this book, but the next book. Anyway, so Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs is a book I finished. This was my random pick. I'm literally going to, I have a TBR jar, but it's not updated, so I'm not using it. I might update it and use that instead, but we'll see. But I literally go into Google, go to search number generator, put 1 to however many books are on my TBR still. I get a number and I count from the top, and then that's the book that gets chosen. If it ends on the 3rd book in a series, I'll just go to the top. That has not happened yet, but if it happens, that's what will happen. So this was my random pick for this month. This blew me out of the water. I was shocked. I had seen the movie. I don't really remember it very well because the movie came out 3 years ago, I want to say. 2 or 3 years ago now, at least. No, it had to be more than that. I can't remember. Time is weird. Anywho, this was the book. I did not read it. I listened to it. I didn't think I was going to be able to read it because of the pictures. I think they would just creep me out too much. But the pictures, as people have told me, and I just chose to not listen, the pictures have nothing to do with the story. They do. They kind of talk about the peculiar children. They kind of show that. But the book isn't as creepy as I thought it was going to be. It was more, I mean, it's YA, so it can only be so scary. But it was good. It was really, really good. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5, which I never would have thought. I thought I was going to be trudging through this, really not being able to, but it was brilliant. It was wonderful. Eventually, I might listen to the rest of the books in the series. I won't be able to read any of them, but I will probably listen to most of them. So anyway, this was, a really pleasant surprise, which gave me hope to keep doing that. Because I got these books for a reason. This was a gift, but I have the books on my shelves for a reason. I just don't remember all of those reasons. And the 6th and final book that I finished this month is The Deathly Hallows by Harry Potter. That's very wrong. It's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. All of the beginning of that was wrong. The beef that this is, 25 hours worth of an audiobook. Not as bad as Order of the Phoenix, but still pretty insane. And it was great. It was wonderful. I loved it. It's super, super interesting. Picked up on a lot of extra things now that I read all of the books. I now need to rewatch the whole movie series because that's what I watched first. But now I feel like I can say I'm a real reader because I actually have taken in the stories of the books of Harry Potter. It was great. It was wonderful. However, this means that I have officially completed one of my goals for the year. So I have checked off my list. I have completed the first thing. The other ones are underway. I have not gotten to any of my top 5 books of the year, but we'll get to that later. So yeah. But with that being said, now that those books are off of my TBR, those were always a pretty monthly staple, so I now have one less book that always has to be there, which means I can pick more books. Oh, excuse me. Ooh. off of my random generator. So I'll get to that more in my April TBR, which will be up in a few days. I'm actually filming it right after this because that's what I do. But yeah, so anyway, that's it for this video. As an update, I am currently at 81 books out of whatever it used to be left on my TBR, which is I'm super happy with. Definitely means I'll be able to read 30 books total this year, which is exciting. And it also means that I might be able to get really close to 0 this year, which would be phenomenal. I would love that. It would be great. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for this video today, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Goodbye!